North Durham, Kawartha.
The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Welcome to Modern Business, the show that bridges the gap between viewer and entrepreneur. I'm your host, Taylor Bursey, and today we are joined by Gaenor Laverty. Gaenor is an independent makeup artist and hairstylist serving the Durham region, Kawartha Lakes, and Toronto. Welcome to the show, Gaenor.
Thank you for having me. Like, what an intro.
Oh, thank you. I feel like it was a very broad introduction. Makeup artist, hairstylist. Can you speak to us a little bit more about what the Gaenor Laverty makeup brand is?
Yeah, for sure. So my business specializes in hair and makeup. More specifically, our services are tailored more towards the everyday person who doesn't wear a lot of makeup maybe on a daily basis, but still wants to have an elevated makeup experience while feeling like themselves.
Amazing. So do you have a specialty for your makeup to give that elevated feeling, or is it whatever the client wants?
It's definitely tailored towards what the actual individual clientele is looking for. Everything is customized to them, but I do have more of a natural hand in the makeup industry. I specialize in more natural and refined contemporary styles, and that's just what I love, and I find that that's what a lot of my clients are booking me for, is for more natural styles.
Amazing. And how did you get into this industry?
So I actually thought I was going to become a psychiatrist. I went to school for psych, realized I probably was not going to do my master's or my PhD, and I actually had a friend at the time who was working in the industry, and she said, I think it would be a really good fit in the makeup industry. Like, have you ever looked into it? And I actually had no clue it was even a job. Didn't know it was even a career. I had no idea you could even make an income doing that. And when I looked into it, I actually thought that a lot of the things that I wanted from my psych job would translate into my makeup industry or makeup job. And it actually did, and I have not looked back since.
And that's quite a jump, going from psychology to, I assume, become a psychiatrist, to then working in the makeup industry, which is more arts-based, if you will.
Yes.
What was the reaction like from people around you?
I think a lot of people doubted me, for sure. I think my family was a little bit unsure, like, can you make a full-time income from this? Is this really a job, or is this more of like a side hustle? I think a lot of people doubted me at first, but the thing is, you get what you put into everything, and when you give it your all, you're obviously going to get a lot back out of it. And so I think once I started to actually make some full-time money doing this and really started building my clientele and was able to do this full-time, everyone around me started supporting me, and now I feel like my family and friends are my biggest supporters, for sure.
Which is exactly how you want it to be.
Yeah, exactly.
With that skepticism, and I know you had optimism moving into it, and I'm sure everyone was also supporting you while trying to stay rational about it.
Definitely.
But with that hint of skepticism, did you sit down and make a plan for how you were going to launch your business and how you were going to make it successful? Or did you just simply go, I believe in this, so I'm going to wing it and see what happens?
So I didn't have any connections in the industry. I had no clue what I was doing. But I think Google and the internet is your best friend. So I would just take small steps every day to kind of figure out my path, figure out what I was going to do, how I was going to build my clientele, just get jobs in the beginning. And I think just Googling any questions that I had was huge in terms of like figuring out my path and like what I was going to do. But I kind of had an idea of who I wanted to become in the industry, and I would just take small steps every day to kind of become that person. And now I feel like it's very authentic to who I am.
Definitely, and what a great way to slowly work towards a goal that you have. So take us back to the first client. How did you get your first client?
So my first client, which was quite a while ago, was a referral from my school, and it was a makeup artist who was looking for an assistant, and she had reached out to me, and so I started assisting her on bookings, and that was kind of how I first got my foot in the door, and I first got my hands-on experience with clients and trying to figure out, do I like this industry? Do I like bridal? Do I like fashion? What area do I like? And I haven't looked back ever since.
So what was the transition like from working as an assistant with other artists to then becoming the main artist and having your own assistants? How did you make that happen for yourself?
I think slowly but surely I assisted a ton of people, and I would listen to how they were communicating with their clientele. I would see how they handled situations, see how they handled difficult challenges, how they would structure their business, and slowly but surely I would take notes and kind of remember these things, and then I would implement them, thank you, into my business. And eventually, through assisting other people and getting kind of referrals, slowly but surely, I went from almost assisting all the time to then having my own clientele and really doing a lot more jobs on my own. But it was a very slow and gradual process.
And that must have felt really satisfying, especially with a little bit of skepticism at the beginning, to then quickly make the transition, because it has been, a handful of years, and you've gone from being an assistant to really finding your own way and establishing yourself.
For sure.
What was the investment in yourself like? Because I assume you had to invest significantly in a kit, invest in how to work the business behind the scenes, register with the government, all that kind of stuff. What was that process like?
It was scary. I always say I think it's really important to invest in yourself. You will never regret investing in yourself, and especially in this business. If you are not looking to invest in your business, whether that be through your makeup kit, through administrative programs, or whatever the case is, you're not going to get anything out of your business if you don't put stuff into your business. And so for me, a website was huge. I started with my website first and really putting in money into that, building my website. I did everything myself. I was my own graphic designer, my own photographer, my own everything.
Okay.
And then through that, I would use social media and different platforms to kind of drive everything through my business.
And now that you feel more established and you have a constant stream of leads and work coming in, do you outsource that work, or are you still doing that by yourself?
I definitely outsource that work. So eventually, I can't do everything. I would love to be able to do everything, but I can't. And so I did start having a few assistants on bookings with me that were larger. And then from there, I kind of developed a team. And now I have a couple artists that work under me and will take bookings when I'm not available. And it's been lovely.
And what was that process like, hiring, or I guess building a roster of artists to then hire for certain jobs? Because I imagine it's stressful when your name is on the line.
It's very stressful. I think a lot of times when I was looking for a team or looking for who I wanted to work with me, personality was huge. I wanted someone who was outgoing and who was very similar to me. I wanted someone who was professional, knew what they were doing, and was passionate as well. And so when I was looking for assistants, I went through some recommendations from friends and from other people in the industry. And I kind of reached out and said, hey, do you know anyone who's looking for more work? And I would start it with small jobs, and they would assist me on the jobs, and I would kind of see how they handled their clientele, how they spoke to people, what their kit looked like. And then from there, I would gradually bring them onto larger jobs, and then from there, put them on their own jobs by themselves.
Wow. That sounds like a nice stepping stone for anybody on your team. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Have you ever had an assistant that hasn't delivered and put you in a tough position?
Absolutely.
And how did you overcome that?
So I still deal with this all the time, and that's why I'm very picky about who works for me, because at the end of the day, if I have you on a booking and then next thing you know, you email me the night before, which has absolutely happened. I've had people email me the night before saying, I can't come in because I'm sick, or whatever the case is.
Sure.
And when it's someone's wedding day, unfortunately, it is part of our job to show up and to do the job. People are booking these jobs a year in advance, and so I need to know that I have someone on my team who is going to show up and do the job. And so unfortunately, when that happens, I am up till 3 a.m., 2 a.m., the crack of dawn, sourcing other people from my team or other artists that can fill in for that other person. And unfortunately, I don't work with those people who don't show up and do the job.
Definitely. And you're lucky that, well, I wouldn't say lucky, but it's great that you're passionate about finding somebody to replace and not just showing up and going, sorry,
well, and
happened.
That's the thing. It's your business. It's your name. So it's a reflection of you, and you want to make sure that you're doing everything in your power to make sure that everything goes smoothly. And I firmly believe that you learn through trial and error.
Absolutely. And then how does it work when you book a job and you bring assistants to that job? Do your assistants also bill the client, or do they bill you? And what's the process look like?
So when I reach out to assistants with a booking, I will tell them all the information, so like the date, the location, the time, and number of services, and then I'll give them a rate. And then they can accept that, or they can say that they're busy, or whatever the case is.
Okay.
And then from there, they'll come with me to the job, we'll complete the booking and services, and then they will send me an invoice afterwards, and I will pay them from the invoice. So I pay them, and
they invoice you.
Yes.
And speaking of rates, makeup and hair application is your artistry. That's your passion. You're looking at your canvas, kind of making it happen. How do you put a price tag on that?
It's hard. But at the end of the day, I think if this is something that you want to do as your full-time career and your job, you very quickly learn that you need to make an income doing this, and that there is, as much as it's something that you love and it's fun, it is a business and everyone needs to get paid at the end of the day. And when I first started, I had a very hard time trying to figure out where to price myself in terms of where everything is. And I think there's a couple of different factors that go into that. So I think your demographic, and like where are you working? Are you based in Toronto? Are you based in like the GTA? Those will make different factors. How experienced you are you newer to the industry, or do you have maybe 5-10 years experience? As well, are you someone who works with a lot of celebrity clientele, or are you someone who is known specifically in the bridal industry? All of these factors are going to help you to price yourself in a very specific spot in the industry.
And did you price yourself strategically to attract a certain type of clientele, or are you taking everyone who's willing to work with you?
I think when I first got started, I just wanted everyone because I really just wanted to build up my clientele. But as I've developed my business, I've realized that it is more valuable for me to take on larger bridal parties as opposed to, say, a bride-only bridal party.
Okay.
And so when I was pricing my rates, I had different packages for different types of brides. So my package for brides who were only going to be by themselves and they didn't have a bridal party is a little bit higher than someone who has a larger bridal party, because you can understand that if someone has a larger bridal party, you're going to be getting a larger income, as opposed to if you have one bride only and now I can only take that client for the day, it's going to give you a different rate. And that was really helpful because now I find that I get a lot of larger bridal parties because my packages are tailored towards that.
Well, that's convenient for you. I mean, strategically, that's what you've done. And when you talked earlier about having your website and social media, are you catering your marketing strategies towards that type of clientele as well? Are you purposely putting out content that attracts that?
Yeah, I think I'm always using social media to my advantage. I love social media. And the way that I look at it is everything that has to do with social media is always strategic. And I will almost always use it in a way that drives traffic to wherever I'm looking for. So I almost will always use Instagram as a portfolio, but I'll use TikTok as something that gives a little bit more personality. So a lot of times people might find me on TikTok, they'll go, oh, I loved her personality. They'll check out my Instagram and say, oh, I loved her work. And then from there, they'll go towards my website and they'll actually book me because now they've seen what I can do, but also they're like, you're cool, I'll hang out with you.
Yeah, I feel like we're friends now, so I
Yeah.
can trust you with my face on my big day.
It's a very personal job. You're spending a couple hours with that person very close to their face. So you want to make sure that you can kind of hang out with that person and that you want to make sure you like the person.
Absolutely. And do you think your psychology experience and all that plays into relationship building with your client and talking to them while you're working?
Absolutely. And I feel like that was one of the biggest things. I think it's kind of like the hairdresser chair. People tell you all sorts of stuff when they're sitting in your chair. People feel comfortable. I've had people tell me crazy stories.
Right.
Because they feel comfortable with you.
Sure.
And so I think 100% that is one of the biggest factors that I got from my makeup job that I really wanted in my psych job.
That is amazing. And when we come back, we will talk more about building your brand and everything that you are doing and have coming up. We'll be right back with Gaenor.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Tuesday on City TV.
I'm Detective Charlie Hudson.
Assume you have a warrant.
Yeah, right here.
The Bark is back to take a bite out of crime
Definitely picked up the scent of something.
on a new night.
Good job, partner.
Hudson and Rex. New episodes return Tuesday at 8/7 Central on City TV or stream on City TV Plus, the app, or citytv.com.
Welcome. Join me on the Rogers TV Durham for learning yoga in just 10 classes. My name is Sri. I'm a yoga teacher at Yoga Point, and it's my privilege to spend the next few weeks with you.
Hi, I'm Sean Lackey, and this is Sold with Sean Lackey. You should check us out if you want to find out what's going on in the world of real estate. We'll have all sorts of guests to keep you in the loop on what's going on in this wonderful world.
Then he fell.
Whoa, I'm not driving. I'm way too stoned. How are you feeling, Beer?
Oh, since we had that talk, I'm not driving tonight at all.
What about you, Dave?
You only had a couple of drinks.
And only a couple of puffs.
I don't drink and drive. No way I'm getting behind the wheel when I smoked weed, too.
How are we getting home, then?
Well, you can drive, Dave.
Come on, Dave.
Take one for the team, buddy.
Don't let weed and alcohol influence your decision to drive.
Yeah, I need a ride.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Modern Business, the show that bridges the gap between viewer and entrepreneur. I'm your host, Taylor Bursey, and today we are talking to Gaenor Laverty of Gaenor Laverty Makeup. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, in the first half of the show, we talked about how you've built your brand, sourced clients, put a price tag on your work, and things of that nature. And you mentioned at the very top that you have a lifestyle niche. Have you niched down your niche, if you will? Do you have an industry that you're looking to go into specifically?
Yeah, for sure. So when I first got into the makeup industry, I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I didn't really know what I knew I was passionate about makeup, but I didn't know which direction to go in. And slowly but surely, as I built my experience and I built my portfolio, if you will, I kind of figured out what I liked and what I didn't like. I'm someone who's huge on passion, and I don't chase money, I chase passion. And so for me, I've always loved natural makeup. And so when I was niching down, I felt like, specifically in the Toronto industry and around Ontario, there was a lot of full glam artists, but there wasn't as many natural artists. And so I felt like there was a hole in that area within the industry. And so I decided to specialize in natural makeup and more refined and undone styles, if you will. And in return, I actually find that a lot of my clientele has been very happy because they only found full glam clients. And so when they found me, they were really surprised to find someone who was a little bit more light-handed and more natural in terms of style.
And are you working specifically with bridal parties, or are you looking to get into a different part of the industry?
So as of right now, I would say I do 85% bridal, and then the rest of it I do a lot of like fashion and lifestyle based content. But more specifically within this year, I found that I love bridal. Bridal will always be there, but I really want to dive more into fashion. And so that's kind of where I've been putting more of my focus and where I will be putting more of my focus for 2023.
And how do you put your focus there? How do you get into the fashion game as opposed to the bridal game?
I think definitely taking a look at what jobs are coming in and making sure that when you are accepting jobs, they kind of align with where you want to go. So for instance, I get a ton of bridal jobs. I love bridal jobs. They're amazing. But say I have 2 jobs on the Saturday and I can only accept one. If one is a fashion-based job, I'm going to go with the fashion job as opposed to the bridal job, because that's where I'm trying to drive more of my business. As well, there is something in our industry called Trade for Print, which is a fantastic tool for anyone in our industry wanting to develop a certain portfolio that they might not have right now, which means that you will essentially work with a couple of vendors or creators, so say a photographer, stylist, whatnot, and you will all collectively work on a project for free to get print work in return for your portfolio.
So that print work would be published in a magazine or maybe for a commercial or something like that?
So all of the work could be used for social media, for your website, for, again, campaigns, magazines, and the idea is that you're creatively working on it, so everyone is just putting in their creative perspective and you can use it for whatever you'd like.
So you're working for a credit on whatever the project is. So let's say it's a magazine feature or article. Underneath the photo of the person, your name would be there?
Correct.
And then people just contact you through that?
Yes, a lot of times that's how it'll go.
Do you find you get a lot of work through Print for Trade?
I find 50-50, so you have to be very specific as to what jobs you're accepting because they are for free. You want to make sure that it's worth it for you. So a lot of times people will reach out to me for Trade for Print bridal shoots and I'll a lot of times say no, or I'll give it to my team because it's just not something that I'm looking to grow at this moment. But if someone comes to me with a fashion-based Trade for Print, I'll say yes because that's where I'm looking to grow my portfolio. But more specifically, I look at who the team is. Is this a photographer that I want to work with? Is this a photographer that is well known in the fashion industry?
Okay.
What value does this individual shoot bring you in your business? And that is a very specific, you want to look at what it's bringing you at the end of the day.
Sure. And do you find it hard to pick up a lot of trade for print jobs because you are working for free when you could be working for financial gain? So how do you balance that part of it?
It's very hard. I think at the end of the day, a lot of times when people are doing trade for print, it's after hours. So it might be on the weekends at like 9 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night. Because again, you do have to make an income and money. And making sure that you understand, am I getting all of the images back from this shoot? Because sometimes I've done trade for print and I haven't gotten any photos back, and it was completely a waste of my time. But again, if I'm getting all these photos back, are they being submitted for a fashion magazine? Are they being submitted for commission? Whatever the case is, really understanding what you're going to get out of it, again, is going to determine if you're going to take the job or not.
And do you feel any sort of obligation or guilt when people reach out to you for trade for print, you know, that you have to do it because you want that, or how does that work?
I think it's taken me a really long time to not have guilt, because in our industry, it's so competitive that I think everyone thinks you have to take everything. But at the end of the day, it's not going to benefit you if you take everything and then you're half doing it. So again, wait, sorry, can we go back? What was that question again?
Do you feel any obligation or feel any guilt when people reach out to you for trade for print, maybe saying no?
Yeah, so I think in our industry it's very competitive, and I feel like everyone thinks that they have to take every job that comes to you. But at the end of the day, if it's not worth it for you, you definitely need to say no. And now I definitely don't have guilt, because again, this is my business, this is my full-time career, and I've really decided to look at it as a business. And at the end of the day, if it's not working for the business, I won't do it.
And you mentioned earlier that you would say 85% of your clientele is bridal, and you're trying to move more into the fashion world. With that jump, you're kind of building your brand within a different niche. Do you ever experience any kind of imposter syndrome when you're on set? Kind of, you know, oh, I'm a bridal artist. What am I doing here?
All the time. I think every day is different. Every job is different. And imposter syndrome is so real. It's not even funny. But something that I always tell myself, to give myself perspective at least, is that you simply would not have the opportunity if you were not ready. And when I think about that, it really helps to ground me and realize, like, you're where you need to be for where you're at right now in your life.
Definitely. And I would say you most definitely have earned the opportunities you've received. And even recently, I've seen on your social media, you've started to work with brands and kind of build that brand partnership aspect. So clearly you're doing something right with your own personal brand and your business brand. Talk to us a little bit about that journey. What's it like to have makeup brands reach out to you and want to work with you?
I mean, it's definitely a treat, and it's kind of like a little bonus on this job. It was nothing that I ever expected to do.
Right.
And so when it feels organic, or it feels like it's a very authentic partnership, I love to work with brands. But it's not something I ever assume, or it's my main income by any means. It's just kind of like a little extra bonus that I love when that happens. And it definitely, when I do work with brands, I want to make sure that it's authentic. And again, it represents my business and what aligns with my business, but again, what aligns with the makeup brand. So for instance, I would never work with like a vacuum company,
Sure.
but a natural makeup brand would be a fantastic fit for me.
Right. And do you negotiate your own rates with the brand and all the deliverables, or do you outsource that to management?
So you definitely can outsource it to management. I know a lot of colleagues who do outsource it. Currently right now, I deal with all of my own partnerships and I deal with all of my deliverables. But how that works is generally the brand will reach out to you, or you'll reach out to the brand, depends on, again, what your
goals are.
Yeah, exactly. And so when the brand reaches out to me, normally what it is they'll reach out on a gifting basis.
Okay.
And so they'll send you the product, and they'll either ask for a certain deliverable, so either a post, a certain amount of videos, or a certain amount of content.
Okay.
And then from there, you'll send it back to the brand, or they'll just gift it to you on the basis of just try it out and see if you like it. And again, you kind of can determine what you would like. A lot of times if you're looking to do long-term partnerships or build a relationship with those brands, you'll want to go above and beyond for the brand, and so you'll want to create content for them that aligns with you and the brand's goal.
Do you feel you lean towards more of the gifting side versus the for payment because it supplements your kit if the product's good?
Yes. I think the more that I do depends on how many. If they're just gifting me the product to use and test it out, then it's amazing, and I absolutely will just test it out. But if they are looking for, like, say, 8 to 15 pieces of content, of course that I'm going to charge because it takes a lot of time.
Of course, time and effort, and you're a busy girl.
Yes, but it is great when it supplements your kit for sure. And I actually have had a couple partnerships where it's solely been based on my makeup artist kit as opposed to my personal brand.
That sounds amazing. And I'm sure you've had a lot of great brand partnerships, and you probably do reoccurring work with brands that you like and you actually use in your kit. But have you had a brand reach out to you and gift you a product that you haven't liked?
Yeah. It's hard.
Do you go back and tell them, hey, it's not cutting it?
A lot of times, so this is where it gets hard because you never want to talk about a product that you don't like to ensure that to your audience. So for me, when a brand reaches out to me to gift me a product, if I have not tried it before, then I'll just ask to try the product first.
Okay.
With no deliverables. And if they're insistent on deliverables, I'll say that I need to try the product first for at least a month, and then I can give you an idea of if I want to do the deliverables or not. And again, this is something I learned through trial and error because there were brands that would send me product and I did not like it and I wouldn't want to talk about it. And it just felt very inauthentic.
Right.
And so now going forwards, I don't want to work with a brand if it doesn't feel like it's authentic and I actually do love the product.
And when you try the product, are you trying it on yourself or are you testing this product on your clients as well?
So it depends on the nature of the partnership.
Okay.
When I've had, for instance, I had a makeup brand that reached out to me and they solely wanted it in my makeup kit because they were trying to target a demographic of makeup artists in Toronto specifically. So that being said, I implemented it into my kit and I would use it on those trade for print shoots.
Perfect.
Because again, it's a time when I can be creative, I can try out these products and really see how does it photograph on camera, how does it work with my clientele. But then there's been other times where a brand will send me specifically the product and they want to see how I use the product. So it just depends on what the negotiables are and what they're actually looking for the partnership.
That's exciting. Almost launching your own experiments, if you will.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, do you have a trade tip for our audience today? A piece of advice that somebody's given you, a piece of advice that you want to give someone else, or just a general tidbit of information about your industry or your business that you think our audience would like to hear?
I think for anyone who wants to get started in the beauty industry, the makeup industry, I think that trade for print shoots are such a valuable asset to your business and really determining what shoots you want to create and really figuring out, do you want to do bridal trade for print shoots? Do you want to do fashion trade for print shoots? Do you want to do film and television trade for print shoots? I think whatever it is, those trade for print shoots will be so valuable to you getting your foot in the industry and creating a portfolio, but also networking with people in your industry. It's so invaluable.
That is amazing. And Gaenor, if people want to find you, experience your content, see what your brand's all about, where do they go?
So my Instagram is Gaenor Laverty Makeup, and it's the same for TikTok as well. And my website is makeupbygaenor.com. Sorry.
Perfect. Makeupbygaenor.com. Gaenor, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a treat hearing about your journey, and we look forward to seeing where your career goes.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Of course. That has been another episode of Modern Business. I'm your host, Taylor Bursey, and we'll see you next time.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Watching hockey just got a power play with NHL Center Ice and Super Sports Pack. With up to 37 out-of-market